Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and today we're playing empty boxes. And you can see here, Sleuth is walking around a warehouse full of boxes, all of which are empty apparently, and kind of wondering what's going on probably. He's confused, he's checking them out, they all look empty. No idea what is this relevant towards the case, I guess. So the actual puzzle that is titled Empty Boxes, I admit I don't exactly see the linkage. Maybe with a stretch. Let me actually bring it up so that you guys see the grid as I am. And I'm taking a look at this and I'm thinking, I don't think it's about the empty cages. It's probably around the very empty, like real empty boxes that we have in here, in there, that will probably be quite hard to solve if it not were for the rule sets. Speaking of the rules, let's quickly take a look through what they are. We've got, well, we finally broken our kind of run of crop key German whisper rule sets. Yes, we do have, again, the German whisper line and the crop keys, but we also have killer cages. But I think with only these, that wouldn't be enough to tackle these empty boxes. We're going to have to use the Disjoint Set. It's back. It's my nemesis. Well, it's amongst one of many. But let's take a look at the rule sets. We've got normal Sudoku rules apply. That means place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. Fairly standard. Disjoint set. Now, I do actually have a setting enabled that would show me when I incorrectly place a digit that doesn't comply with this rule. And I'll show you that in action here. So if this cell was a 2, I wouldn't be able to place a 2, obviously, in any of these cells because, well, Sudoku rules. But with disjoint sets, I can't place 2 in any of these center cells, despite the fact that it doesn't see it with Sudoku. There's no German whisper, crop key constraints, nothing like that. But nevertheless, if I place a 2 in here, I have broken the disjoint set. So digits must not repeat at corresponding positions in the boxes. Let's carry on. We've got digits in cages must sum to the number printed in its corner. We've got, for example, a 6 cage in here with 2 cells. If this was a 2, this would have to be a 4 for these 2 cells to add up to 6. These 2 are 15, 23, 23, and so on and so forth. We have digits along a green German whisper line must have a difference of at least 5. If this was a 2, for example, these cells would have to be from 7, 8, or 9 for it to actually work. So we know that it's either going to be 2 highs with a low or 2 lows with a high because of the nature of the German whisper line where it oscillates between the two. Up to us to figure out which one is which. We have a black dot between cells indicates values with a 2 to 1 ratio. If this was a 2, for example, this would be 1 or 4 for it to be in a 2 to 1 ratio. We also have white dots that are indicative of consecutive values. If this was a 2, this would have to be 1 or 3 for these 2 cells to be consecutive. Not all dots are shown. Yesterday's puzzle was, I don't want to say relied heavily, but certainly relied quite a bit on negative constraints. No such constraint today. Nothing stops this 2 from having a 3 next to it. There's no need for a white dot between them. There's no need for it, a black dot between these 2 where the 4 is double the 2. Lastly, we have this cell here must be filled with an odd digit. So that can't be an 8. It can be 7 or 9. Of course, it could also be 1, 3, or 5 if it not for the German whisper line. Can't have 5 on a German whisper. Up to you to determine why that is the case. Right, that's all the rules from Megan 033. Sort of looking at the name, is it meant to be like 007 play Megan 033, or is it not sure? Anyhow, if you want to play along, if you want to uncover what's inside these empty boxes, they're empty, link in the description down below as usual for you to play along. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. Now, some of these cages are forced. For example, the 7 cage in here can only be made up of 1, 2, or 4. The 23 cage in here can only be made up of 6, 8, and 9. And I'm looking at this 6 cage and I'm thinking my 2, 4 example would break this, wouldn't it? Because essentially I'd say these are not 2 or 4. I only have 1 as an option now in 2 cells that see each other. That's not going to work. So these are not 2, 4. This is going to be 1, 5. No 1s in here. That's a 1. That's our first digit in 30 seconds. We have probably something very similar going on in here with the 6, 9. If I remove 6 and 9 from both of these, I would need 8 in 2 cells. That's really not going to work again for us. So this is 7, 8. This is therefore an 8, and there is no 8 in either of these 2 cells. Then it gets a bit tricky, I think. So I'm looking at this 22 cage. Actually, yeah, so the disjoint set is actually going to be helpful now. So an 8 cage needs to have a 1. A 22 cage needs to have a 9. Now, this cell here is not a 1 because I've already placed it. I know it looks weird, but just disjoint means if I put a 1 in here, you'll see an error. That's not a 1. One of these 2 cells is a 1. And I imagine we're going to have to start, it does very strange things such as, none of these are 1s, for example. So we're clearly going to have to use it quite a bit to think about what's going on in these empty boxes of clues. But anyway, 1s, they line up in here. It means neither of these can be 1. Neither, as in neither of these 2 rows in box 2. One of these 2 cells is a 1. We've got... I say the 22 cage needs to have a 9 because without a 9, the highest you can make this is 6, 7, 8, which is 21, too small. Now, there are 2 ways of doing a 22 cage. One of them is 5, 8, and 9. The other way would be 6, 7, and 9. Essentially the 9 plus a 13, which is either a 5, 8 pair or a 6, 7 pair. Clearly can't repeat a 9, 4 with the 9. And then this 8 comes into play, because that means this can't be an 8. So if this is an 8-9 pair with a 5, this would be the 9, this would be the 8, and this would be the 5. The alternative would be that this is the 9, and this is a 6-7 pair, and I'm not seeing anything happen with the disjoint set. We have a naked single. I'm keeping an eye on a lot of things on this grid, trying to see where to go next. It's not really guiding you to the next step. You sort of have to really try and see things. This cell here is not 1, it's not 2, it's 3, it's not 4, it's not 5, it's not 6, it's not 7, it's not 8, it's not 9. It can only be a 3. And I'm still not too sure. 9, you can see now, can only be in one of these 2 cells, because obviously we've got same thing that we had in here with the 1s. These were lined up, that forced the 1 in here. We've got the same thing. One of these has to be a 9. One of these have to be a 9, now that this is not a 9 in there. This is a 9 in here. So the composition of this is 6, 7, or 8. And I'm pretty sure if I make this 6, 7... No, not true, not true. 6, 7 is fine because I could actually make this a 9, 8, 5. That actually works. So 6, 7 is not a problem. And I guess I can make any combination work. 7, 8. 7, 8 doesn't. Because this is either 6, 7 or 8, 9. And by using a 7, 8 pair, I've basically broken both. So a long way of saying is there has to be a 6 with one of 7, 8, not both, and therefore no 6 in here, and therefore no 6, 7. It is in fact a 9 and 8, a 5, no 8 in here. This is a 6, 7 pair, and this is 8 and 9. That 8 gives me a 7 up there, an 8 in here. Got a run in here in this white Kropke dot that's clearly going to be useful. I just need to think about how is it useful. That's an odd digit. It's not 1, it's not 9, it's not 7. And we know because it's on a German whisper line that it's not 5. This is forced. This is a 3. These 2, I'm not sure I'm going to use much coloring other than this. This can only be from 8 or 9 because it has to be high enough to be 5 or more away from the 3. Well, let's think about what this is. So, I mean, one thing it's not. It doesn't include a 2 because the 3 is here. And obviously it would make 2, 3, 4 and break multiple cells. So 2 is not in this white run. 2 is in one of these 2 cells. 3 is not. So the smallest number I can get in here is 4. So essentially it's either 4, 5, 6 or 5, 6, 7. This is not a 7. Clearly the 7 can't be in the middle either. So I could do 7, 6, 5. That looks like it would work. Do I have any? Not really. I'm sort of looking for any disjoint set that would sort of move this a bit forward. How about Sudoku, Sleuth? None of these are 5. That's now an even digit on a white crop key. The trick for a white crop key is it's always even, odd. Can't have a consecutive digit that is odd and odd or even and even. That really doesn't work. The only odd digit available in here next to this even digit is a 6. So that's 7, 6, and 5. This is now another 2, 4. This is 2, 4. We need in here... Actually, I don't know what we need in here. We need a second 2, 4. We need 1 and 3. I mean, the 1 was there for the taking for ages. And this is from 2, 3, 4 with a definite 3. Then we have a 2, 4, kind of in one of these two, a 2, 4 in one of these two, plus a 9, and plus a 6. And disjoint is not coming to the rescue yet. So this sort of trick that we had with the 22 cage, I'm kind of very suspicious that we have a very similar trick with the 8 cage. So let's think about this. We've got an 8 cage can be done in one of 2 ways. It's either 1, 2, 5, 2, or 1, 3, 4. Now, if we think about the composition of these 2, so it's not 1, it could be 2, 4, or 5. And you can immediately see that it can't be 2, well, hang on, let me just think this through. I'm going to say, yeah, it can't be 2, it can't be 2, 4, because it breaks both of these. I eliminate the 1, 2, 5, and I eliminate the 1, 3, 4. So there has to be a 5. And as soon as I have a 5, well, I've eliminated 1, 2, 5, I can't also break the 1, 3, 4. So this can't be a 4. This is a 2, 5 pair. This is a 1, 4 pair. And this is now 1, 3, 4. This is not a 1. And now, because we've made a lot more progress here, probably the disjoint set would actually be helpful. Such as, here is a 5, looking at here, that's a 2, that's a 5. That's not a 1 because of this one. Excuse me. That's the 1. That 1, no. Excuse me, sorry about that. I was looking at this thinking it's in the middle, and it isn't. It doesn't actually apply. So how about don't do that, Sleuth? I meant to type in a 5 in here, by the way, not a 4. The 1 doesn't actually help, and I don't have a 3 or 4. Oh, I do have a 3, so that's not a 3. Feels like that's as far as I could take it for the moment. Really does. Okay. Let's move on in the interest of time. You can see the 8 can only be in this cell. That was probably there for the taking ages ago, and I just ignored it. You know, with these 2 8s, it's always going to be in one of these 3 cells, and you can't have an 8 inside a 3-cell 8 cage. Here is a unsurprising fact. 7 is in one of these with a 6, 9. I mean, I will pencil mark it. We've kind of got the same thing in here with a 2, 3, 4 and a 6, 7, 9. Right, let's think about what these cells are. So if this is a 1, that would be 2, that would be 4. That doesn't work. That's not a 1, that's a 4, that's a 1. The 4 now is connected to something that is allowed on a white crop key dot. Well, it's not 5 from 3, 5. This is a 3. This is a 6. No 6s in here. 6 in there. 9 in there. And then these two cells, well, the only low digit that we have left is the 2. And then we're left with 5 and 7 in here. 5 and 7 line up. That's a 1. That's a 5. That's not a 1. That is the 1. 7 and 9 and the 6 means these are not 6 or 9. This is 9. This is 6. This is 2, 4. I'm still looking around for disjoint sets. I mean, aside from kind of seeing the occasional item that may have some interplay, it doesn't look like it. It looks like we're kind of on our own tackling these with classic Sudoku and disjoint sets. So we're going to have to get very creative in a second. Like really creative. So is it the ones? Maybe. Let's think about what these are saying. Yeah, I can actually place a 1 in row 9, funnily enough. Yeah, that is a 1. And it's very hard to see. Essentially, these two cells eliminate 1s as follows. This 1 eliminates that third 1. Where does 1 go in row 9? It can only be in here, which gives me a 1 in there, which with classic Sudoku gives me 1 up here. That 1 eliminates this 1. That's a 1. And that's 1. That's all the 1s done. That's 9 of them. I guess that's why Megan named it empty boxes. 2 is clearly not the one to go after. 3, not enough of them really to make a material difference. 4, we literally only have the 1. 5, how many did we have with the 1s before it had such an amazing impact? We had 5 of them, so 5s is not far off. We have 4 of them. Let's just see what this does for a second. Not quite the same, is it? There's a lot of places left for 5s in here. And, none of them really line up in columns, rows, etc. So I'm sort of tempted to sort of move on from 5s. And, I mean, it's fairly restricted. It's just not that restricted to make. 6 is not it. 7, 8s maybe. We also have 4 8s, so potentially... And we have an 8-9 pair lining up, so this may be more helpful and fruitful. Let's have a look. Remember the 8-9 pair. Let's not ignore these. So, oh, hang on. So 8 is in one of 2 cells in here. One of 2 cells in there. Can't eliminate either of them with disjoint sets. One of these 2, one of these 2. So what's going on in here? Sorry, I'm being pedantic. It's just... It really doesn't seem like there is a lot left on the table. Unless I'm missing something. It's just that 8-9 pair is a bit tricky. But unless I can place some of these 8-9 pairs somehow, and I'm not seeing it, it's not so intuitive. Okay. 9, so maybe I'm going to have to sort of corner pencil mark a few things and then see where it takes me. Because there's probably overlaps that I'm ignoring. Yeah, so I am tempted to pencil mark kind of these fives. Particularly these overlap with the 8. The 7s, this is really pushing it. Yeah, I'm not seeing it with the 7s. 5s were useful. 6s, there's quite a lot of 6s, so let's think about these for a second. So nearly. Am I missing a 6 somewhere? It doesn't look like it. And one of these is a 6. So ones were done like magically. It's just all the others are not that easy. Unless, like I said, I'm missing something in some of the pencil marks that I've already done. And that would just really open this up. How about let's just do classic Sudoku for a second. What I'm left with in here, now that I've got 1, 5, 6, and 8, 9, is 2, 4, 3, and 7. So let's just write them all in and then just start to eliminate some options. Such as that's not a 2, that's not a 2, that's not a 2 either because it's a corner. That's a 2. Okay, this is going somewhere. 3, 4, and 7, that's not a 7. This is another 3, 4. That kind of starts to open up this column. One of these is a 7. Again, not the corner. That's a 7. 3, 4 in the corner. I don't think I have any 3, 4s in here. Okay. But this is getting somewhere. 7 is in the bottom in here. No. 3. Let's just keep this going with classic for a second. So what do we have in here? We need 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. What is this cell? Because I don't think, well, I can be a 6. No, it's not a 6. It's already not 5 or 8. This is 7 or 9. Do I have anything that will eliminate it? No. I am going to, though. This is silly. When you're pencil marking 5 or more, this is just ridiculous. What else do we have, though? I really want to start to solve some of these. This would just open up things immensely. 2. 2's in one of 2 cells in here. Well, it's not helpful, but in a way it is. 2 being in one of 2 cells lines up with these 2. So that means these 2 cells are gone from every box. So for example, that can't be a 2 anymore. Oh, that 2 gives me an order. That's a 2. That means this is a 2, this is a 4. That's not a 2 either. That's the 2. That's the 4. That's the 2. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. This 3, 4, have I got anything to help? No. Okay, what about the 4 now? Let's just keep going with 2's. One of these is a 2. And my guess is, yeah, one of these is a 2. So that's a 2x swing. The 1s are done. 4s. Yeah, not really. I'm sorry, I'm going to remove some of this noise. I know it may end up being useful in a second. I may end up having to come back and add it. But it's a struggle to see what's going on. So you see the 3-4 pair is helpful because it does eliminate quite a few options. So let's just think about this. I mean, I did reject it earlier, but let's just think about this for a second. Not 8, not 9, not 8 either. Not 8 either. I think 8s can only be in here, can it? Yeah, this can't be 8 because of this 8. This can't be 8 because of this 8. And obviously this can't be, so this is an 8. That means 8 is in one of these two cells. Have I got anything to help me? Kind of. Okay. Can I do more of this magic for a second? This can't be the way that you're meant to solve this. I am probably missing something a lot more obvious that I'm just not seeing for one reason or another. Wouldn't be the first time, by the way, where I take the most complicated route to solving. That's not a 6. Therefore, this is not a 6 either. No, hang on, that's fine, actually. 6 is only in the corner, which is this one. I don't have a 6 on the edges or a 5 to eliminate any of these, or a 7 for that matter. So not as helpful as one might like. That's not a 9. 9 in the corner, not really. This 7 does a lot of work. That's a 9, that's a 7. Where is, what's happening to the 7s now? 7s is in one of two cells in here. This 6-7 pair is actually solved now. That eliminates the 9 down, the 7 in here. That's not a 9. This is a, I was going to say a 5-7. Oh, yes, it is. It is a 5-7 pair. That is a 6. Does that 6 jump back anywhere? No, it doesn't. But that 7 help me in here? Not yet. But these 5-7s are a pair. That 7 does. That's a 5. That's a 7. That's a 5. That's a 7. I appreciate that I could just turn on pencil mark checking in a moment and it will help me solve this a lot more quickly. Just think of it as practice. We're at 23 minutes. If things take a lot longer than it should be, I will probably consider it once more time. Right. We've kind of completed most of the pencil marks though, other than the 3-4s, which don't seem resolvable right now, or the 8-9. So we're on the right track. In here, I've got 4, 8, 9 plus one more digit, which is the 5. That's the 5. This is from 4, 8, 9. I mean, I'm going to pencil mark it for a second. That's not a 9. That's not an 8. Can I do better? Where are my 4s? Short answer is not with the 4s. Not with the 8s, seemingly. And not with the 9s. Okay. 9 is up here in these two cells. So I need I need an 8 that would go into one of these cells, basically the middle lower one, and we know it's not down here. So essentially it's either this cell or this cell. One of these is an 8. And yeah, it's not enough. Right, so we have in here 4, 8, 9, and 7. That 7 corner pencil mark is very suspicious. That's the 7. This is again another 4, 9. It's not an 8. Maybe it's time to fall back on classic Sudoku for a second. That's an 8. That's a 9. That's an 8. That's a 9. That's a 9. That's not an 8, that's an 8. That's a 2, that's 2. The corner pencil marks were helpful in the end. That's a 4-9 pair, which was incorrect. Sorry. I just spotted that this could have been 3, 4, or 9. 3, 4, or 9, yeah. But it does mean this is the only place for an 8, so I'll still take the 8. I'll still take the 9 and the 8. And the 9 again. So this is actually was correct. It doesn't, yep, it does eliminate this 8, and this 2, and this 2. All of that is correct. That is not a 2. That's a 4-9 pair. That's a 3. That's a 4. Doesn't help me with my 3, 4 in here still. But that's okay. That's now a 4. That's a 9. And let's just go to classic Sudoku. Now, we've probably made enough progress to start solving from here with just classic Sudoku. But that was certainly hard work, Megan, but almost certainly intended. Unless I've missed some fairly obvious classic Sudoku. Again, it wouldn't be a surprise if I did. I'm sure somebody in the comments will let me know if I did. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We need 3 and 4 in here. What is this cell? Have I got anything? Anything? No. And the center one also no. Okay. And here we need 5 and 6. That's the 5. That's the 6. In there we need a 3 and a 5, I'm going to say. That 5 gives me an order. That's the 5. That's the 3. That's 4, 3, 4, 3. That's not a 4 because of this 4. That's 3. That's 4. I need a 4 in here. It can only be in this cell. And then for the finish, this is a 6. It's a lovely puzzle for sure. It's a very interesting use of the disjoint set with these empty boxes. So you can't make progress, at least based on my solve, you can't really make a huge amount of progress in here without using the disjoint set. And it's about, you know, like the way, for example, we filled in all of these ones was just pure magic. But I imagine that some of you, if you have pencil mark checking on, you would have been able to solve this a little bit more quickly than I made it come across. Still, certainly an approachable puzzle. I agree with the 1-star difficulty rating, and a good practice for everyone that is unfamiliar with the disjoint set. Hope that you guys enjoyed the puzzle and the video, hopefully. And we do have some more disjoint set puzzles on the channel that, you know, I'll make sure that they're recommended next. So take a look at what else YouTube has in store for you coming up. Bye-bye for now.